So if you, I don't know if you go to the folder icon in MeetEcho, there's a refresh icon, which is like an arrow, circle arrow, half circle arrow. Hit the refresh. I think that will work for you. So we're looking for volunteers who can take notes. Need a couple of people to do that. So I'm going to jump on that here in the next few minutes.
I'm logged in to take notes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Carl. One other person?
This is Hank. I'm not sure if my audio is working, but I can help with notes this time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Nancy was having technical difficulties. She's trying to rejoin. So I'm gonna kind of wait to see if we can get her to resolve that. I can start with some boilerplate chair stuff. So this is nope, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. That is okay. This isn't the IETF-115. We're using those slides, but this is the virtual interim in December of 2022. Just a refresher on the note well. So I think everybody's familiar with the IP policies for the IETF. So just to take note of what that is, and anything that you say or contribute will fit under that IP policy. We are recording the session, and just a few tips here for the meeting. Make sure that your audio and video are off unless you're chairing or presenting, and we recommend use of a headset. Code of conduct, be nice, be courteous, please contribute, and here's our agenda. It's really one thing, which is to continue our focus on the EAT blockers and issues, and so hopefully we can get through all of those today and actually make this something we can wrap up pretty quickly. So with that, I'm going to check and see if Nancy is here. Still don't see her. Okay, still having technical difficulties. So we will move on without her and hope she can join. So with that, that's our agenda. And so if someone wants to make a change or suggest something different, please do so. Otherwise, I think we are on track to begin with the EAT update and blockers. So Lawrence, can you share that, or do you want me to share it? Or
Sorry, I haven't done this before.
There's the screen icon. If you click that, you can share.
Okay, over here. Okay. Am I sharing my screen?
You're sharing,
I
yeah.
can't tell.
I see something.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing the Meet Echo screen.
Okay. Find the right window here. Sorry.
Click on the second list in the Meet Echo screen.
I know. I just got a lot of windows open here, and I got to find the right one.
Yeah, if you want, I can share too. That's not a problem.
Just give me a minute. I'm sorry, I wasn't organized for this.
This is Hank. The slides seem to have accepted by to the data tracker materials. So in theory, you can just use them here from Meet Echo, right? You don't have to share anything.
Just click on the link and it'll come up, or it should come up.
Okay. Does that look right?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Sorry for the so okay, and I can turn on my video here too. Okay, I guess I can't turn on my video. All right, I'm just going to go with video here. Okay, so here just very quickly, here's the changes we made in draft 18, which was published since London. So SEC boot was renamed to OEM boot, and it's described as OEM authorized boot. The term attestations is no longer used in the intended use claim. I think it says now evidence and/or attestation results. And then there was some clarification in the privacy consideration section about freshness and replay protection. And then there was also a number of typographic and other really minor changes. So those were the three changes in draft 18. And then, Hannes did a review, and he found a bunch of little minor things, wording changes and missing words and wrong capitalization. So we've merged, I think, 10 of his PRs into in GitHub, and those will show up when draft 19 is published. Any comments or questions on that before I go on? Okay. So these are the remaining issues.
Lawrence,
doing them
with your voice breaking up, I don't know if others are having the same issue.
Uh-oh.
Are you on a headset?
So
no,
this is like, to me, it's like stuttering. That's from time to time. Seems to be
it's pixelated a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you can maybe get closer to the mic or.
Yeah, I will get closer to the mic and speak more slowly. Generally, I'm not using a headset, but generally my Mac works really well for this. I suspect the problem is I'm on a poor internet connection. And nothing I can do about that. So this,
yeah, speaking. See, we'll see how it goes.
yeah. I'm actually, I am in Mexico, and I have not installed Starlink yet. So this is issue number 10, very old. The issue requests guidance on how to create Yang objects for claims. And our response here from the authors is that we're just focusing on CBOR and JSON in this document, and that taking on Yang would be a step too far. Comments or questions on that?
Yeah, so this is Hank. Just quickly, so it's about the semantics here, I assume, because you can, of course, encode Yang in CBOR or JSON. But that's not the point. I assume that we are not trying to map named words in Yang, so statements basically, and try to make them values here. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know very much about Yang. So this...
The question can go to you,
issue,
Hank. Have you identified such terms?
Sorry, Adam?
Have you identified any terms that are being reused from Yang in the EAT document?
Oh, no. I'm just asking, I'm not even familiar with the issue. I'm just hearing that we are declaring here the response is overreach for the EAT document, which focuses on CBOR and JSON, which basically says, yes, we are doing Yang. And I don't think you wanted to say that. I think you want to exclude Yang here. But the response opens it for Yang. So that is my confusion.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Lawrence. Sorry for interrupting.
We don't want to change anything in the document. The document does not mention Yang, and we don't want to add anything about Yang to the document.
So with no one
that was your
asking
point.
for this, can we just close it? And that's it? We agree right now this
Yeah.
is closed and move on?
Yeah, and I think that was Lawrence's request if somebody had an objection. I think Hank was just clarifying that that he was reading the response correctly, which I think is, he said, my interpretation was that his response was in line with the direction, which is to not include Yang in the internet draft.
Exactly, yeah. So I just think the response does not reflect that, but if you close the issue, it's gone. So that's also good.
Okay, next issue. This was a request to reorder the sections in the EAT document. The request put some of the claim definitions, put the claim definitions later in the document. This issue is from over a year ago. The document has been reordered in some other ways since. Also, the order of the document matches the order of JWT and CWT. So again, no, I would like to close this issue.
Can you
So,
state that again? What was the other document, just for the purpose of the notes takers?
so the ordering of sections in EAT matches the ordering of sections in JWT and CWT.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, both of them have the claims definitions, like the third, or, you know, it's the first major section. The claim definitions is the first major section.
With no change for this one, and in the original thing that's filed, Michael says, "I wonder if," as opposed to "please move it, here's the problem," whatever. It said, "I wonder if," so it wasn't strong to begin with, and so I think it's fine to just close this one.
Okay. Moving on. So this issue, number 291, had two parts. One is that the issue asks how SUEID labels are assigned. The text in the document, since draft 13, explains that their assignment is intentionally left open. So basically, the document already says how the labels are not there is no process for assigning the labels. So the issue only asked how they were assigned. It didn't say that the method of assignment was wrong, or the non-method for assignment was wrong. It only asked how they were assigned.
Dave Taylor, this might be a case where just responding in the issue to say it's allowed and left up to the profile, which seems to be the answer, and not changing the document and just responding in the issue for the record.
Yeah, that response was provided in the issue a month ago.
It's up to the profile. If a profile wants to require it or prevent it or whatever, then a profile can do that, right?
Yeah, the response does not mention profiles, but I don't think it needs to. It can, but I don't think it needs to.
You could add that comment in GitHub and close it. I think the text in the document is fine.
Okay. Any other comment on the SUEID labels? Okay. The issue also asks if the UEID and SUEID can be the same. The response is that yes, they can be the same. There's nothing in the document that says whether they could be the same or not, but I believe the rules for UEID and SUEID are clear, and that we do not have to explicitly say that they can be the same. But basically, the rules imply that they can be the same, but there are, rules for when an SUEID can change and when a UEID can change. So they might start out the same, but an SUEID can change, and that would where a UEID can't. So they might, through a life cycle event, it might become different, even though they started the same. But I believe the rules are clear and don't need improving.
comments that I made earlier were actually on the bottom half of the slide about what we would do in the GitHub is commenting on the bottom half, not on the top half. Sorry if that wasn't clear before.
Okay. How would profiles relate to this?
Right. Lawrence's was choppy, so I'll just repeat what I said. My comments before was adding a comment in the GitHub and then closing it, but not changing the text. And my suggestion for adding a comment in the GitHub, which I could do, is to just say that the UID and the SUID may or may not be the same. The document, the spec does not constrain it. If there's any constraints necessary, then a profile can constrain whether they must be the same or they must be different or whatever else. Any other constraints in the relationships there is up to a profile, but right now there's no constraints. And we can just say that in the GitHub issue and close it, because I think the text is fine, is what I was saying.
So we have agreement to close the bottom half of the slide. What about on the top half? Is that also agree to close with the won't fix or
Nobody's on the queue. I assume the answer is yes.
Okay, we'll move on then. So this issue requests that the measurement results claim be removed because it is too general for a relying party to be able to interpret. The as you know, the measurement results claim represents the results of a measurement. It's not the attestation results, although it might be inside attestation results. The measurement results claim can also be in evidence if the attester has the ability to evaluate measurements. And there are products out there that do this, that have the known good values. The attester has the known good values. So the measurement results claim does have a simple pass-fail option. You can just say the measurement result was passed or failed. And that's something that an RP would know how to interpret. Also, an RP always has to understand the verifier's policy. That's a basic characteristic of the RATS architecture. So, I mean, in that sense, every claim is in attestation results is the RP needs additional information to interpret any claim in attestation results. The third point is that the measurement results claim explains why it is general. And there is a whole detailed paragraph explaining this. So again, we believe the text is fine as is.
Dave Thayer's on
Go
the queue.
ahead, Dave.
To just continue, or when there's complete silence, if I should just jump in.
Yeah.
I think that the text is fine. I think the one thing that the working group may want to discuss, and I noticed that Eric Voigt is not on the call, but I think it might be appropriate for the AR4SI document to talk about the relationship between this claim and the trustworthiness vectors. I don't think any change is necessary to the EAT spec, but I think that a discussion of this question in the AR4SI document might actually be very useful.
Sounds good to me.
So do we need to create an issue in the AR4SI repo then to capture this?
So, meaning in the AR4SI document, right? Because the profiles can say what are allowed claims, prohibited claims, and so on. And is this one an allowed claim? I have to go look in the AR4SI because I don't remember off the top of my head.
So this is Gary here. Can I add a label of won't fix, keep it open, indicate that on the issue that we think this issue would be better handled in the AR4SI document? If I close it, then you'll lose track of some of the write-up that Lawrence has provided in there and also the decision we made today.
I would really like to close it.
And said if we create a new issue and we reference this one, it will be discoverable even if you close it.
Yeah, let's close it.
That's fine. We'll close it, and then I'll put the note in there that will say AR4. I will add the label won't fix, but we'll put in there AR4SI. We'll take up this issue, and I'll see if I can put a link to the AR4SI repo in that context as well. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
A reference to this claim anywhere mentioned in the AR4SI document. And so I think it is valid to have something to say, is this one an allowed claim? And if so, what's the relationship between this and the trustworthiness vector?
Okay, moving on to the next. This was filed against draft 13. Draft 13 had a normative section on endorsements and verification keys. That section was moved to Appendix F. So there was a significant change to the document in this area since this claim or this issue was filed. This issue, and I believe in the comments and discussion on GitHub, evolved to a request for specification of methods for verification keys and endorsement identification. I think it was actually requesting detailed specifications of methods. So the response here is Appendix F today provides good examples of different ways to specify the key. So you can do it with UEID, you can do it with X509 certificates, or the COSE KID. So Appendix F describes those examples. There's examples though. Another point here is that the means for handling verification keys and endorsement identification are going to vary quite a bit from use case to use case. So much so that we don't see it as possible to pin this down to any particular thing. Again, that would be something that would be addressed by a profile. And also this parallels what happens in COSE, where COSE does not specify any end-to-end key identification scheme. Basically, we think that the method for identification of key or the endorsement should be in a separate document or other documents. For example, perhaps somebody creates a document that says how to use X509 certificates as endorsements. So we believe there are no changes to be made in the document. We do not want to strike out and provide a whole de-identification scheme. We feel the examples are sufficient.
I'm looking at the comment, and as long as you have the example Michael was expecting, but I think you can rest.
Can you repeat the question,
I am.
Nancy?
Yeah, could you transcribe it if you're having trouble with your audio? I'm not sure if it's a meet echo or the endpoint or an endpoint issue, but I couldn't understand a word of that.
Yeah, Nancy, I couldn't understand what you said either. The audio broke up.
Okay, Lawrence, you got the answer from Nancy in the chat window.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen, but we're not looking at that.
I can read it out. She says, it was a comment to say you have an example in Appendix F, so I think it's okay to consider this PR result.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to close this issue. Any objections to closing this? Okay.
Thanks on the queue.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in two meetings at the same time. That's a little bit difficult. So I heard, so I was confused by the issue in the first place, to be honest. So I have no problems with it being closed and not acted on, as I think it's about key identification standards, and I don't think we want to go there. So I would be fine with just abandoning the issue. I think Michael, who can't defend his issue, had something for this, but I can't put his head on because I literally don't understand it well enough. So I think if there's no feedback from MCR required, we could abandon it. Yes.
Okay. We will close this issue. So that is it for the issues, except for one that was filed a couple of days ago by Thomas. And we have not worked through this issue completely yet. There were a few other PRs and issues filed in the last week or so I have not put them in the slides, or I'm not bringing them up here because I believe they are all just procedural or wording. There's one about how to form the CDDL correctly. You can follow them on GitHub, but I believe they're not important or that they don't require the discussion at the meeting here. So this
what is your plan for the resolution for those? Is it to generate another revision of the draft?
I think we will generate a draft 19 in the next a week or two, before holidays. Mostly it will be, since we haven't had anything here so far that's required a change, it will mostly be just fixing the spelling and the typographic errors. And I think there will be one CDDL adjustment, but relatively minor. And it doesn't change the semantics. It's just a question of how to use CDL most effectively. Oops. Okay. So
Jerry's on the queue.
This question is for the chairs. We put out the draft 19. Will we be, can we take it to IESG review? I understand, I'm assuming most working group members, particularly the ones who have gone through, who have gone through the RFC editing process before, will know that this is not, draft 19 is going to be far from the last draft. But in fact, we're anticipating, I think we can safely anticipate several other versions in addressing the IESG comments. So. And if the chairs, that's a reasonable way forward, can they describe what the process will be after we put out the 19 draft?
So I want to get a feel for how many people have read, 18 and are familiar with that one. I don't. The assumption being that 19 is going to be kind of wording changes, minor wording changes to 18. So if, but I did want to get a sense for how many people have are familiar with 18 and so well, I'm going to think of some. I'm going to maybe do show of hands here.
Well, we know Hannes has read it thoroughly.
Hank's on the queue.
Yeah, sorry, this was off timing. I'm in two things here. So the problem is that you want to have a poll first, because then
Yeah.
I will postpone my question. Yeah, okay, sorry, it was just unfortunate timing.
Yeah, so I'm starting a poll to see how many people have read version 18.
Oh, in context of this issue or in general?
In general.
Okay. I'll DQ for now. But for this issue, I think I still have a comment. So.
Okay.
Also, I'd like to say that Hannes has read it, so +1. He's not. He can be here, but he said, go ahead.
Okay.
And relay my message. So I'm relaying it.
Okay, so add one more. So it looks like it's about evenly split. 8 people participating, 5 have read through it, 3 have not, of those that are participating. So anybody else? Okay, it looks like it's settled down. So it sounds like, it seems like folks are familiar with it. So the next question I have is, if there are only sort of minor wording changes in version 19, do we think it's ready for last call?
Are you putting out a poll on that, Ned? Or are you going to just get to the mailing list?
Oh,
It takes me
and
some
can you
time to type it.
clarify what last call you're referring to? Gary specifically asked for IESG last call.
Right.
Oh,
That's what I think your question should be: is it okay to submit to the IESG now?
Yes, I can confirm that with my original request.
Okay, so try this. Thomas, should I assume that Hannes was going to vote for this?
Yes, that too.
Hannes' review seems positive.
What was that again, Nancy? Okay, it looks like it's settled down. So seven hands in favor, one hand not raised. The person that did not raise their hand, do they want to speak and explain their reason for not raising their hand? Okay, so I'll conclude from the voting that it seems as though version 19 would be a reasonable candidate for ISG review, but we will want to wait until that is out and we've had a chance to look at it before we actually recommend it for ISG review. But I think that can be done offline on the list. I don't know that we need to meet again. Hank has his hand up.
Yeah, so I think we are through the slide deck. So I was going to come back to the issue that we were looking at just a moment ago. I can't see it, so I have to look at it. Pass through. That was so. Yeah. So I think the problem in general that I still perceive with this issue, why I think it should be a fix, is what Thomas commented on 4 days ago. That when you do the should normative statement, it should be coming with a rationale what the exception is. When is it okay to forward it, and how would it be obvious to the relying party that it's not confronted with evidence? And I think that is a valid concern, to be honest. I wouldn't know how to use that at the moment, I think.
Your comment is aimed at whom?
At the authors of it, at the maintainers of the issue, at the people who say it's okay to have a should without explaining how to use it.
Does one of the authors want to respond?
I hate to respond to question with the question, but Hank, would removal of the RFC 2119 language alleviate the concern from your perspective? I know we've had offline discussions with Thomas, so I'm not going to ask you to speak for him.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm speaking for myself. So I just wanted to agree with Thomas's point here. So that's basically it.
Yeah,
And no, removing it would make it worse. That would allow it, right? That's not good. Then you clearly can state that, yeah, go ahead, send evidence to the relying party, and somehow that feels weird to me. No, I
well, I've
think
already.
yeah, what I want to hear is, when is this okay? How can an implementer tell that this is okay? How do you mark evidence as such when you send it to a relying party, because it has to go to the verifier in the first place? So that is things that I would like to have
Yeah,
text and guidance about. Yeah.
yeah. So first off, I've already stated my view on this. There are perfectly valid attestation architectures where the verifier is integrated into the relying party. So when you talk about sending something from the verifier to the relying party, you're assuming a specific architecture. So
No, I'm assuming you're doing an EAT that is attestation results. So
no, yeah,
I'm just bringing that.
I'm
Yeah.
saying, I'm saying you don't say, if the verifier is integrated into the relying party, there's not the concept of sending is not clear to me what that means. Oh,
Ah, okay. So because you'd have a verifier that, I don't know, internally communicates its findings to the same system that is the relying party also. I got it. So, but then you are never sending evidence to a relying party. Effectively, you're sending it still to a verifier. So there's no reason to
no,
state
no,
that you
you're
are
wrong
sending
about
it to
that.
a relying party.
No, you're
I'm
not
wrong.
sending it to a
Okay.
verifier. You're sending it to the relying party. The relying party happens to include the verifier functionality in it. So
Yeah, but to
that's why
the architect, yeah, but the architecture always sends things to roles. That it happens to be on the same entity as a relying party
that
is
is
irrelevant,
once
right?
again you're talking about an architecture, the one that you're a co-editor of. It's not all the that's not the only architecture that
Yeah, but
that
this
EAT
is
is
an EAT
intended for.
ID, and it's according to the RATS working group things. I think now I'm confused more. So this is how is this ID informed? Not by the architecture of RATS then.
It,
No, I
is
think it's
this
meant to cover more than that, right? I think it's that's why it's softened to a should requirement. Um, that is, but I'm saying
do we?
the exceptions are quite are quite lengthy when you would not want to do this. I don't think we can give proper. I personally, speaking as an individual, don't think we can do proper justice to this discussion inside of the EAT document. So.
So Dave Thayer's on the queue. I'm just wondering how to disposition this conversation. I'm wondering if we need to capture it in the issues tracker.
It's already there in the issues tracker.
Yeah. Yeah.
My comment is on a different topic, so
Okay.
I raised my hand about the same time that Hank had it up on a different topic.
Okay. And then Carl raised his hand. Is it related to this current topic, Carl?
Yes, it's on this topic.
Okay.
So should I just go ahead, Dave? Is
Go
that
ahead.
right?
Yeah. Carl, go ahead, and then we'll come back to Dave.
I was just gonna say we've talked about four possible ways to settle this. One, Gary mentioned removing the 2119 language. One, the must not that's in the issue that was the initial submission. One was to add a brief rationale to the should not that says except where a profile identifies why you're not adhering to the should not. And then the other option was just no change at all. So those are the four things we've talked about, and only one of them got talked about here, really. So I don't know if either of the other options there, Hank, catches your ear differently, but that's where we are on addressing the issue, to my eye, anyway.
So we do expect that any RATS drafts will adhere to the RATS architecture. So if that's the case,
Well, based on what sorry, but that's when you say expect,
yeah.
that doesn't that's not necessarily going to apply in all usages of RAT. But for instance, the Web Authn registry, which is an IETF RFC Ministry of Security AD, it is not possible for an attestation format to actually define distinguish claims between evidence and results. That is I'm an expert reviewer on that for that particular registry. I'd have to reject it because the architecture has no contemplation of such a distinction. So, and
So
one of the first things me and Lawrence were asked by the security ADs at the time when we submitted EAT for consideration by the IETF was, can this be applied to FIDO? I'll have to look it up. There was an email from about 4 or 5 years ago. But so I don't really. I think if we're going to say that, I think EAT applies in the context of the ecosystems in which it's being used. Not EAT is strictly adherent to the RATS architecture.
So I think the way I don't think that the RATS architecture is trying to say that EAT can't apply to FIDO. What we want to get to is an explanation for how the RATS architecture is interpreted such that that a FIDO implementation of it makes sense. In other words, the description of the application of RATS is, aligned with or in harmony with the RATS architecture.
Okay.
I don't think that's an architectural thing.
Yeah, and it's stated such in the EAT document, right? It says the EAT format follows the operational model described in Figure 1. That is where evidence only goes to the verifier. RATS architecture literally says that. So now you're telling me it is not doing that.
Yeah, but it can.
And
But
that
it
is
doesn't
just
have to.
confusing
It
to me.
doesn't. It doesn't have to, right? I mean, it's there. We've the document is written as such, but let me rephrase this. The document is conformant with the architecture document. I think in this case, though, the language was kept vague, and I think it's the right thing to do to allow for the different exceptions. Let's leave aside FIDO for a second. Evidence can be conveyed not in a token format. Or sorry, results can be conveyed not in a token format, but in a UCCS format. The working group made a decision to remove all mention of UCCS in this document. Therefore, it's up to the UCCS editors to decide when, for instance, an IAT claim or any other claim that's the provenance of the token issuer gets conveyed as evidence. Results. Sorry, I get confused. So if we can't really discuss that here in this document.
So I want to highlight, but I already forgot what it was, that the second option Carl mentioned was nice, but I literally forgot what that was to the discussion right now.
Yeah.
I'm confused about the relationship to UCCS. I'm also unclear now about.
We don't prohibit.
Everything.
No, we've removed everything, but we're not. EAT doesn't prohibit the IAT claim from being passed through as a result in the form of a UCCS, right? So how that gets handled is up to the UCCS document.
So Lawrence was on the queue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Is Lawrence your comment on this thread also? Sorry, Dave. Lawrence, do you have audio? I don't hear Lawrence if he's speaking.
Yeah. Okay. To me, the RATS architecture does inform EAT, and really now, we've worked with this architecture, the RATS architecture, for a long time, years. I think it is flexible enough to accommodate FIDO. I don't think we have to rearrange anything here, and I'm kind of puzzled by this discussion. I mean, the whole EAT document is, it does use the RATS architecture terms. I really would not, I don't want to revisit the whole RATS architecture discussion about the separation.
Yeah.
I also point out that all of the claims, I think, are neutral. I think every single claim is neutral as to whether it goes into evidence or attestation results. I mean, I was intentionally trying to do that.
Yeah.
So I think what we need is to capture there were like Carl mentioned there were 4 different options that hadn't been discussed. We should capture those 4 options in the issue, and then have whatever appropriate discussion is needed. I think that the conversation around, hey, we don't have to be compliant with RATS architecture is just, I don't.
It's moot.
It seems like it seems like it's a moot or false.
Yeah, it's moot.
Sort of a
It's
false.
a red herring. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
The document is conformant. Even the last time I had a little discussion with Dave and Hank on the GitHub repo, it was already resolved in favor of the RATS architecture. So don't worry about that. Carl's already said he's going to put the 4 options in there into the repo. The problem is that I don't know how you gauge consensus. I'd like to get this into the -19 draft if there is a resolution on this. So, can we just can you delegate this to a smaller team, like the RATS editors, Thomas? No, I meant the guys are already looking into the repo, just as reviewers. That's all.
Yeah. The people who care about the issue should work together on it.
Yeah, that's what it's meant, Lawrence. It's not a
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so what we'll do is when we come up with a mutually agreeable PR, if we do, we'll designate the reviewers to sign off on it, and then that.
Okay.
And
it'd
we'll
be
do
great
that before the next year draft. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yep.
Lawrence, are you okay with that too?
I'm basically okay with almost any option here to get the document through, with the understanding that, there will be further drafts here. So I really don't want this issue to hang us up for IESG review. That's my top priority. So whatever we can do to get through into IESG review sooner rather than later is what I want to do.
Okay.
Okay. Dave, thanks for waiting. Dave Taylor.
Yep, sorry, I was just getting off of mute here. And the last one, I'm in the same spot as Lawrence. As long as it doesn't regress anything, then I don't care. So the issue that I want to talk about, given that I think we have all the relevant parties on the call right now, is I didn't see in the slides, unless I missed it, issue 343, which is the IAT definition that Thomas mentioned. And so there's a discussion between Thomas and Carl and Lawrence. And if I understood right, the issue is that the CDDL allows time to be in either integer or float format, but the EAT disallows it, and we needed to decide how to do that in the document. There's a current pull request open that proposes doing so in prose, meaning the CDDL still allows float, but the text in the document says don't use float, use integer. I approved it this morning, and it looks like Thomas just did as well, but wanted to give visibility to the rest of the group. But I didn't quite follow why we could not do it in the CDDL, which would allow better tooling and things, but I have no objection either way. So I just want to give a minute for people to discuss this issue.
Let me respond quickly, is that I didn't put it in the slides because I thought it was just a CDDL issue that didn't require, there's no controversy about what the document, the intent here. It is just what is the best CDDL to represent this. And Karsten made a comment about dot within and dot and that I was going to look into, and maybe that solves it.
Well, I'm the only voice that's been against doing it in CDDL, so I'll speak. And the reason I'm saying this is this claim isn't defined in this document. It's being reused from somewhere else. And I think if you claim to reuse something, then change the definition and change the prose, you're no longer reusing it. And if we get to the point where CDDL imports are used, now you've got kind of this weird animal where EAT's using it one way and other stuff is using it some other way. So that's the only reason, and it's kind of pedantic, but that's why I was against changing the CDDL.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
Something that can be resolved with a profile?
Not
in
a
other words, do we need to talk about it?
Profile is exactly the way to do it, I think, right? In my opinion.
So the question I was going to ask Carl is, which document is this being reused from?
The CWT RFC. which inherits from the JWTRFC.
Gotcha. Thank you. So I did not understand your comment in there. So yeah, I already approved it, which is doing it in prose, but didn't quite understand why. I didn't object either way. So just wanted to thank you for the elaboration.
Okay, so we're going to have to cut the conversation. We're at time. Let's resolve offline, capture it in an issue, work the issue through the list, and let's shoot for getting that resolution before version 19.
Okay.
And we'll move forward in that direction. So thanks everybody for attending, and we will look forward to continue this conversation on the list. Any last remarks from any of the other chairs? Thank you to the notes takers. Appreciate that. And have a good rest of the month, and have happy holidays.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.